if you watch it back and you think I look like a prick, just snip it off, yeah? We in England got our first taste of the video assistant referee on Friday, and we all saw how that went down. Now, the FA is said to be considering trialling the VAR in a couple of FA Cup matches next year, with a possible view to bringing it into the Premier League as early as next season. But wherever VAR has gone, fury and confusion have always followed. Now, on paper, the video assistant seems like a brilliant idea. Anything that makes the game fairer and at the same time has the potential to make the droning, moaning bores we all know shut up must be a good thing. Refereeing nightmares have always been a part of the game, and every one of us remembers a few times when the man in black has cost our team dearly. If you're a Villa fan like me, you remember Graham Poll costing us the 2000 FA Cup final. If you're an Arsenal fan, you wince every time you see Mike Dean walking out of the tunnel. And if you're a United fan, you probably hate every referee that isn't your beloved Howard Webb. Now, as much as we might like to berate and abuse referees, the fact is that it's not an easy job. Trying to keep up with the pace of high-level football matches and trying to see everything that happens on the pitch clearly at the first time of asking, that is no enviable task. The video assistant could be just that, an assistant with a better view of the game who has the chance to help the poor bugger in the middle get things right. Not only would it take a load off of the ref's shoulders, but it could also give the players, the fans and the managers just what they're always complaining that they never get: justice. Nobody wants to see their team wronged by a missed offside call or a falsely awarded penalty, and VAR seems like the perfect solution to stop those nightmares from recurring. It works in other sports, so why not in football? Well, dear viewer, as you well know, football is not like other sports. It's a bit of an old cliche, but football is a game that flows like no other. They said that VAR wouldn't interrupt that flow. They were lying. It's all well using rugby or cricket or even the dreaded spectre of American football as an example of how well video-assisted refereeing can work. But in rugby, long pauses in play are part and parcel of the game, which is always stopping and starting anyway. Cricket is so wildly different to football that the comparison is almost totally void right from the beginning, and anybody who wants to learn from American football probably also wants to turn the FA Cup into a Beyonce concert, so no thank you. All of these sports are used to constant interruptions, so a couple of minutes for a video ref consultation are neither here nor there. That's not the case in football though, where any significant break in play, even if it's only a minute and a half, can destroy a team's momentum and have an enormous effect on the progress and eventual outcome of the match. Now, we always hope and expect that the referee will let the game flow, as everybody likes to say. The best thing that a ref can be is unnoticed. And if you think that a video ref is compatible with this, you haven't been watching the Bundesliga this year. Now, Serie A, the MLS and the Australian do me a favour, even Ross McCormack can score in that Division A league, have all come to know the VAR recently. But I know the Bundesliga better than I know those leagues, so that's the one I'm going to talk about. Previously, I thought that the Bundesliga's decision to introduce the video ref was a bold step forward and a brilliant thing for progress. And I scornfully went around branding anybody who opposed it a good-for-nothing reactionary. Herewith, I would like to revise my position and apologise to those people that I abused. I'm sorry, you were right, it has been a mess. In the very first match, the video assistant was consulted no fewer than 12 times. That means 12 interruptions to play, occasionally lasting for minutes at a time. Now that is poison for football. The game will be unrecognisably transformed if such frequent and extensive delays become the new norm. We've also seen in the Bundesliga that the system is unbelievably confusing. A goal might be disallowed for a foul or a missed offside call that happened 30 seconds before the goal itself. Now when that happens, there's not a soul in the stadium who has the slightest clue what went wrong until they get home and see the highlights. Then there's the fact that in that case, the fans will have been celebrating for 2 minutes, all for nothing. And we don't want to reach a point where the fans have to wait for approval from the video ref before they start celebrating a goal. That will really be the death of the atmosphere in any ground. Although to be fair, the Etihad or at the Emirates, there's no atmosphere to kill anyway, so Man City and Arsenal, you might as well crack on. Now, unlike in other sports that use VAR, with football so far, neither the broadcasters nor the supporters have had any idea what the referee and his assistants are discussing for the entire time that the game is held up. That sometimes means minutes go by in which no one has got the foggiest what is going on. That might add an element of suspense for the armchair spectator for whom football is a TV show, but for the poor fans inside the stadium, it's a nightmare. Another reason that the Bundesliga has had so many problems with the video assistant is this: nothing is black and white. If we were expecting the VAR to eliminate human error, we've learned that that was never going to be possible. Goal line technology has been so successful since its introduction in football because it tells us definitively whether or not a goal was scored. It answers a yes or no question. But the VAR is just another set of people re-examining a scene in the match and offering their own, key word here, interpretation. One man's foul is another's tough tackle. One man's handball is another's irrelevant accident. The Bundesliga season so far has shown just how much in football is open to interpretation. VAR was supposed to put a stop to the endless discussions about the justifiability of certain calls, but if anything, it's amplified the arguments. The video ref was originally only supposed to be able to intervene in the 4 following situations. That was goals, penalties, straight red cards, and bizarrely mistaken identity. Sounds pretty sensible, if only it were so simple. Let's take goals, for example. The video ref is supposed to jump in if the ref on the pitch has made a mistake or missed something in the build-up to a goal. The problem here is, of course, deciding exactly where the build-up starts. Soon enough, everything becomes the build-up and the VAR's jurisdiction becomes basically boundless. And what about straight red cards? Recently, a Stuttgart player was awarded a second yellow in the 13th minute for a challenge that wasn't even a foul. But because second yellows aren't straight reds, the video assistant was unable to correct the referee's mistake and Stuttgart were left high and dry with 10 men for 80 minutes. Now, if one decision is worth getting right, then they all ought to be. But of course, we don't want the VAR to be jumping in on every second call. That's the absurdity. Either we use it all the time and ruin the flow of our beloved sport, or we restrict the occasions on which we decide to use it and thereby introduce a previously unknown element of injustice into the game. It really is a minefield. Now, after all that moaning, let me try and end on a positive. The fact that I'm saying all of this might be proof that it was pointless to say any of it. Let me explain what I mean. Here I am on my soapbox whinging about how annoying the video ref is and the dangers that it poses to the game. And what would I otherwise be doing? Whinging about refereeing errors. We love to moan about the ref, and now that there's a new technology, of course we're going to have a good moan about that as well. Naturally, in the early stages there are going to be some teething problems, but there's always the chance that they can be overcome, and in a few years we might look back with horror on the days before the VAR. Basically, everything that I've said proves one of two things. Either I'm right and the video ref is as terrible as all that, and the more it gets brought in, the more irreparable damage it will do to the game, or I've just proved that football fans are very adept at finding new things to complain about. Take your pick. To be honest, I actually think both are true, but that is enough about what I think. It's time to hear from you. Is VAR really a disaster? Or do you think it should be brought in? Do you really like it? Is it wicked? Like and subscribe as always, and yeah, comment below, and we'll see you next time.